Welcome back to Retro Crazy. This is part 2 of the SEGA Game Gear. In part 1 I stripped out and redid the first the first main board in the first of 2 Game Gears I'm going to look at. This is part 2 where I'm going to look at the soundboard. And even though the power board is working, I am going to recap that as well. So as I said in part 1, the soundboard is actually held in underneath the shield. So 4 screws. We'll remove this. This can then come up and just go to the side. The soundboard, 2 screws, and while the soundboard was working it was very quiet. Now I'm spotting something already which is telling me that there was an issue in the soundboard. That is nice and shiny, you can see that. However, this one, which does not want to come out, is corroded, and that is normally a sign of a leaking capacitor. And just on a very basic visual inspection on the board, I can see this doesn't look very nice, this doesn't look very nice, this one doesn't look very nice. Difficult to see whether this one is it's looking a bit furry. So we've got signs of capacitor leakage. Sometimes you can also do a sniff test, which will tell you. Let's find out. Nothing distinctive. But if it smells of fish, then yes, you've got a problem there. So there is one soundboard in a little while. First things first is the dinky little power board. Now these caps are exactly the same as the previous caps that we did. The difference being is the board is much smaller. So I'll be using exactly the same process. So I'll not bore you with that. Again, we're going to have to watch height because some of these sit underneath the shield. You can leave the shield out if you really wish. My preference is to try and leave the shield in. It's original, it's meant to be there, so I leave it. So again, I will just fast forward through all of this because you don't need to show reinventing the wheel every time. That's all the caps removed. Do not be tempted to try and just pull them up. If you've not got the right heat, what can happen is, as has happened here, the pad has lifted. I don't know if you can see that moving under the camera. It hasn't torn, but it's lifted. I can still solder to it. However, now I've got to be very careful. So before we go any further, clean-up time. Usual 99.9% IPA. Now I'm going to look at a couple of points under magnification just to see exactly what's going on. You can clearly see the damage to this trace. Just give it a little scrape and see if there's anything silvered under there. It's looking like the edges of a break. There's a tiny bit holding it together, but probably the act of cleaning this up is going to damage it beyond salvage. I will try a continuity test anyway, just to make sure, but I'm going to guess this tiny little leg at the edge here was all that was actually holding this capacitor in circuit. So here's one fix that's required. This leg is fine. You can see this capacitor is fine on both sides. This one likewise is fine. This one has good circuit. This is the pad that's lifted, but I can still solder to it. If it breaks, I've got plenty here. I can actually run a trace wire on. And this one is also likewise fine, still connected. So it doesn't look like too much damage has been done to this audio board from the leaking capacitors, but left much longer it could have been a lot worse. So I'm going to clean up all these traces now, and as I've shown in the past, I will use some copper braid and some heat just to get everything moving. And there we go. Now even after running that solder across, I'm reckoning that's a break across there. So let's see if we can do a full test on this first. So I'm just going to peel back some of the conformal coating, the solder mask. Nice shiny section there. And let's bring in the meter. Try and get it somewhere where it's not reflecting the light. There we go. And that's the noise we're looking for if we've got continuity. Which we do. Well, that's a bonus. I did not expect that. Excellent. So it's not a full track repair. There's still enough of that board running. So let's move on to replacing the capacitors. Now the nice thing about this is 3 use 100 UF and 2 use 47 UF, which is a perfect amount supplied in the kit. These ones we can have sitting straight up and down. It's not going to make any difference at all to the board once it's in. It will make a difference for these back ones. So what I'm tempted to do is actually have these ones kind of lying flat. That one will sit there. This one, I can bend the legs and have it sitting upright, kick to the side, one way or the other, it's not going to make any odds. Same with that one, it can sit, kick to the side slightly. And that just leaves these two. Now, based on the height of these, there is a height difference, but it's less of a height difference fractionally when it's lying flat. So with these, I may well lie them flat. I'll sit this one up slightly when I'm first fitting, so that I can get the screw in and then flush it. This one, I may do a U in the legs and have it sitting round. So, see you in a minute once I've finished soldering. And we're done. Board's back in. Let's find out this time if we have any better audio. Turn the light back off. Whoa, I'd say that would be a yes. Considerably louder. So that's it for this part of the video. Next we'll look at the power board. So the final is to look at the power board. Now the power board again is held in with 2 screws. Apologies for the exposure. I haven't quite worked out how to keep the exposure lock on. And it's an absolutely gorgeous May evening. So I've got light coming in from the side. Now to remove this, we're also going to need to lift this protective cover off because it's double-sided and it holds on to 2 of the contact points. We should now be able to lift the entire board out and move the side casing away. And just the 3 capacitors to change. These are conventional through hole, so there's nothing flashy, nothing fancy, no surface mount to have to deal with. We can simply remove them. So the usual solder sucker and some flux. So there we have the 3 caps out. They were more awkward to take out because what they do is bend the legs into a J shape, which grips through the board. And again, from the top of the board we can see where the markings are for each of the caps, positive and negative sides. And you can see the progress in technology. Same cap value, fraction of the size. So I'm just going to solder these 2 initially, get those done. And the final piece of the puzzle. What I'm going to do is just give it a quick clean. And now if everything's gone according to plan, this is fully recapped. Time for final assembly. Well, there we have it. Back together, bolted down, given a very basic clean. It really needs a good soaking, but for the purposes of this video, absolutely fine. Does it still work? Well, let's find out. I would say that's a success. But that's just one. There's another one to go. However, that's the end of this video, part 2. Part 3, it's just going to be a very quick rebuild of the second one, full recap. I'm not going to go into the detail I did with this one, and then we'll look at costs. Let's find out if any of this was worth it. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time on Retro Crazy.